Ow. What's up, everyone? Punchy back with Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 2, Watanagashi. We're back here after Mion's history lesson to see if she really did kill Rika-chan and Satoko. She did say that she was mostly at the center of every year's killings, or she was at least involved, just might be indirectly. The sharp points of her words stabbed into my chest despite not being directed at me. I'm not saying that it's okay if you killed other people. Regardless, Mi-chan, you killed Rika-chan and Satoko-chan. Rena's words were more biting than any I had ever heard. Even now that we knew all the heavy history pressing down on Mion's shoulders, she had criticized her for killing our friends. Just as I bear the duty of the Sonozaki family, Rika-chan bore the duty of the Sonozaki family. I mean the Furude family. That duty was to protect the ritual storehouse. My chest tightened. I learned around last year that Rika-chan had said something about it. The bars in the storehouse were too heavy for her, and she wanted to change them to a simpler lock and key. Even the priest before her had complained about it being heavy. He was very aware of how hard it was for Rika-chan. I will make sure to guard it, so I wanted to replace the lock with something lighter. I replied on the behalf of the Sonozaki family leader. Ever since the string of freak death incidents, there seem to be people who are insolent towards Oyashiro-sama, so he shouldn't replace the lock with a simpler one. That said, the leader of the Kimiyoshi family, Old Man Kimiyoshi, If it's that difficult for you, Rika-chan, then I think it's okay to replace the lock, he said. The very fact that it was locked with a key was an indication of it being somewhere you mustn't enter. That nobody's bad enough to break through it and go inside, he said. Even if we were alike as leaders, I couldn't find it in me to argue with Old Man Kimiyoshi, since I owed him so much. In the end, we decided to change out the locks in the storehouse and switch it to a really cheap and light padlock. Old man, is this really alright? Nana says if possible, we should keep the lock the same. It'll be alright. You're quite the worrywart. If something happens, this old man will take all the responsibility. Do you promise? You mean that you will take responsibility as leader of the Kimiyoshi family, right? You should be well aware of how sacred the things inside really are. It's okay. There aren't any bad cats in Hinamizawa who would open the lock and break in. Meow meow. Oh. Sobs escaped from her mouth. Something hot and whip dripped down in spades and fell onto the tatami mat. I had already heard of the thieves entering the ritual storehouse during the Watanagashi festival. There were 4 of them. We decided to act within the day. At the same time, we needed to demand that the ones who allowed the thieves to break in, Rika-chan of the Furude family, and Old Man Kimiyoshi, take responsibility. My tears dripped and dropped. Until just now, I had decided that it was Mion's fault, that she killed Rika-chan and the others. That was wrong. The one who killed them wasn't Mion. It wasn't me. I might as well have killed them all, or killed them. Punchy-kun. I had a chance to stop this tragedy from happening, and yet, I didn't. Cheap curiosity got the better of me, and I didn't. If, at the time, I had stopped us from sneaking to the ritual storehouse, Rika-chan and the others wouldn't have had to die. If I had, then nothing would have happened. We would be spending our days having lots of fun, like we always did. I was an idiot. If by shedding tears I could take it all back, then I would have had filled the room with them. However, such a meager act wouldn't be enough to redeem myself for the crime I've committed. Punchy-chan, you're not at fault. Mion gently began to speak to me, as if trying to reason with me. As the leader of the Sonozaki family, I needed to act. But given the history of the Sonozaki family, thinking about it now, it's no big deal. Maybe I should have saved my friends, even if it meant casting all that aside. I yielded to it, and that's why I killed those two. I, me and Sonozaki, and nobody else, killed them. I had hundreds of chances to stop it, but I didn't stop. I gave into the easy role that was handed to me and abandoned all thought of fighting for my friends. So this was my crime. I killed them. Me and Sonozaki, with these hands, killed them. And nothing whatsoever changed. Nothing. Her masochistic laughter was sad. Especially because Mion boasted in the club that she would turn the tables on whatever predicaments presented themselves. It was so painful. Still, Mi-chan, you've saved one person on your own volition. Huh? As I looked at her surprised, Rena stuck her finger right at my forehead. You left Punchy-kun alive. As strong as you are, Mi-chan, it would have been no trouble for you, but you didn't kill him. That's right. Mion was so cunning that nobody could stand up to her. Even in our club, if she had seriously tried to kill me, I would have been dealt with on the very first night. So many people have been sacrificed, but I was left out in the cold. When did I first realize that? Even though people were disappearing one after the other, for some reason I had this vague belief that only I would be left alive. Why didn't I kill him? As a demon, I can't even begin to guess. Maybe Mion had some reason she didn't want to kill you? What is that supposed to mean? Shh. Mion put a finger to her lips to say that Rena didn't need to talk. Is Oishi waiting outside? Yes. Any way out? No. They said they have the place surrounded. It seemed like they called a lot of cars over the radio. I think they have your entire property surrounded. Oh. Never. Mion fell silent. Rena's merciless words felt cruel. But they weren't meant to be. Maybe they were trying to lessen a good friend's pain, if only a little. Maybe they were considerate, but she was trying to help. Please, turn yourself in. Mion didn't open her mouth, but she smiled, just a little. We'll go with you. We'll never leave a friend by herself. Crying children and Rena are the only things I can't beat. She rose, scratching her head. Her face had returned entirely to that of the usual Mion. I am well aware of how serious my own crimes are. Even if they accept me, turning myself in, I'll probably never be able to come back here. I couldn't say anything. The number of deaths Mion was involved in was just too large. So much that maybe recommending that she turn herself in was, in a way, extremely cruel. So I'd like you to hear one last selfish request. What is it? 30 minutes is fine. Just let me have some time alone with Punchy-chan. Huh? My name suddenly came up, and it looked like I was the only one surprised about that. Punchy-kun, is it okay with you? If you don't want to, then I won't make you. I'm afraid. You're right. It's okay if you don't want to. After all, I'm a demon. And Punchy-chan is a bona fide human who moved here from somewhere else. For us to be compatible, as long as Oishiro-sama doesn't exist to mediate, it simply isn't possible. There was no reason for me to hesitate. Mion had been engulfed by a heavy, unopposable tradition. Right now, the duty of handling this had fallen to me, and me alone. Okay, honestly, if I was in his position, I probably would say, yeah, sure, 30 minutes alone with me, that's fine. However, she said she doesn't have any remorse or anything. I mean, she's sad, but she doesn't have remorse for what she's done. And I'm technically the last person she needs to finish off the curse of Oyashiro-sama. And being left alone with her just does not sound any good. In fact, with me cornered, it would have been okay for her to blame me. However, Mion didn't say one word of blame. Far from it, I was guilty of the same crime, and she let me go. Amidst the fate that she could not oppose, she saved me alone. I didn't know whether I should be thankful for that. Thinking upon it now, I didn't know how much easier it would be if I were to be granted the same punishment as Riku-chan and the others. The only thing I knew for sure was that I had an equal duty to bear the sins that Mion shouldered. So when it came to Mion's last request, there was no reason for me to hesitate. Sure, it's fine. Thank you. I'd like to thank you too, Punchy-kun. Rena stood up. It looked like she would keep her promise with me and leave. It's fine, Rena. You can wait right here. I just want to go around the yard with Punchy-chan. If you're bored, you can go to my room. You can read manga if you like. If there are any volumes you'd like, you might as well take them. I don't want to. Mi-chan's books belong to Mi-chan. Rena couldn't bring them back home with her so freely. You're such a good kid, only at times like this. Mion took Rena's head and rubbed it violently, like I always did. Okay, let's go, Punchy-chan. I began to walk after Mion, who headed for the hallway, when Rena silently stopped me. Take care of Mi-chan. Yeah. Mi-chan really believes she won't be able to Jesus, Mi-chan really does believe she won't ever be able to come back. I didn't know much about laws, but with as many deaths as she's been involved in, the chances of her escaping a heavy punishment seemed non-existent. Watch out, so that you don't make her lose her temper, okay? Mion might not surrender herself to justice, so I might have to put an end to it myself. Rena had already thought that far ahead, right? I won't let that happen. Rena rubbed at her tears, which had fallen without me noticing them. Okay, then go after her. I nodded and followed Mion, who had disappeared out of the front door. I could clearly hear Rena sobbing from the other side of the paper door. Where was Mi-chan? Made a successor to demons. Maybe it just had to happen that way. But it's just so awful. Something hot burned down my cheeks. They were my tears. I fiercely wiped them away. This was the last time I could offer to Mion, so I absolutely didn't want to let her see my tears during it. Mion was already waiting outside the front door. Achievement unlocked. Sorry about that. I don't like the sound of that. I put on my shoes, tapped my toes against the floor a few times, then left. And Mion timidly came over. Why are you turning all red at a time like this? Can I hold your arm? It was such a modest request. I don't mind. With my permission, her face lit up with glee, like a child being given a toy, and took my arm. Do you get kind of nervous with your arm through mine? You're not thinking, for example, that I'd suddenly put you in a world-class joint lock or anything? You two say the same things. I don't think that at all. Back when nothing had gone wrong yet, during those nostalgic days of the bustling commotion at Angel Mart, I counted back and was amazed. It had only been 1 week ago. I had been arm in arm with Shion then too. Linking arms with Mion like this really reminded me that they were twins. How much strength they put into it, the sensation of their arms, their warmth, and the blood flowing. I could feel that their living sensations were exactly the same. I think Shion liked you, Punchy-chan. I see. If this were a regular conversation, I might have jumped back, red in the face. Right now, though, no matter what I heard, my mind remained at peace. Me and Shion, you got along well, didn't you? Well, I wonder. Punchy-chan, do you think your right hand and left hand get along? Huh? My right and left hand? I don't think you could describe them as getting along or not. That's how a relationship is. You can't measure it by the scale of how well we get along. That didn't sound like it meant they got along really well. For example, one of your hands is dominant, so there will always be a better hand. If you only had one oven mitt, you would put it on your dominant hand without thinking, right? I think maybe it was like that for us. That doesn't mean, though, that anyone would be okay with losing their left hand. It's that kind of unexplainable relationship. I think that maybe you live too close together and just stop being able to see it, but I think that means you gotta get along really well. I'm an only child, so the day before the festival, I was really jealous of when you and Shion were messing around with each other. I think you're jealous of something that doesn't exist. Yes, we twins used to have a lot of fun playing tricks on people, but now that we have such distinctly different personalities, it just gets in the way. Were they cursed, or they were self-conscious? Their relationship was hard to understand for an outsider. Maybe that wasn't an issue someone like me should intrude on. Just staying silent and nodding gently was the best way to advance the conversation. Mion passed through the wide yard and invited me into the big desolate forest we'd seen on the way in. Such a big forest was part of their property, so I couldn't help but feel small. It's huge. You must have had a great time playing it as a kid, huh? Mion seemed to be silently reminiscing. I couldn't look into her mind, but she was probably thinking back to those fun days when they played as sisters without any antagonism. Every time the wind blew, it caressed the treetops and the leaves, making a swishing, murmuring sound. Mion remained silent for a long time, thinking back on her younger sister, whom she had gotten rid of with her own hands. There was no need for me to get a word in. Just walking like this, arm in arm, was enough. Mion suddenly stopped and turned. Shion is still alive. Really? Mion took a hard look into my eyes, then nodded quietly. Yeah. I'd be thinking to give her the most horrible death of all, so I had her locked up. I never did think of a good way to do it, though. Mion sounded as though she hated Shion, but also, deep down, she didn't completely detest her. So I took my other hand and rustled Mion's hair with it. Mion didn't only save me, she saved Shion too. Mion may have become a demon and led many people to their deaths, but she fought against it and was able to save 2 people. As I petted Mion, she narrowed her eyes in an entranced smile, untangled her arm from mine. Then Mion quietly said, "Come with me. I want you to see all of my sins. Although Punchy-chan, it might be the worst thing you've ever seen." Gulp. Jesus. I could sense it. There I'd probably find all the sacrifices up until now. Looking at them would mean accepting Rika-chan and Satoko's deaths, as well as accepting that my best friend had done it. It's already happened, and it's in the past. You can choose not to look, Punchy-chan. If you don't want to, then wait here. I'll personally end everything. I was taken aback how ominous that sounded. I remembered what Rena had told me. Mion might not surrender herself to justice, but instead choose to put an end to things herself. I couldn't leave her on her own. Besides, I agreed to her last request, didn't I? Even if it was hard for me to accept it, I'll still do it. Even if I avoided looking, it was something that had already happened. It doesn't matter what I see. Yes? Mion Sonozaki is the best friend I could ever have. That won't change. It never will. The treetops softly swayed in the wind. You and Rena both. Why do you only get really cool at times like this? Normally I'd say something rude back at her, evading the question, but today I didn't. I just answered with a smile. At last, Mion started walking. Into the thick forest, into the deepest part. After following a thin path that looked like an animal trail for a while, we finally came across a steep incline with a tunnel that reminded me of a coal mine or a bomb shelter. We were surrounded by shallow hills. It had been created in a spot not visible from the outside. There were many silhouettes of crows in the trees here and there. The abnormal odor I'd been smelling for a while was doubtlessly escaping from inside this place. If you want to turn back, now's your chance. I don't know what kind of person Mion Sonozaki is to you, but if you go inside, that Mion will probably... she won't change. I'll say it as many times as I need to. Mion Sonozaki is the best friend I could ever have. I clenched my fists. Inside, there was probably a sight beyond anything I could imagine. If I let my guard down, I might end up vomiting. Even so, I'll endure it. I'll overcome this pain and this suffering. And it will never change that Mion is my greatest friend. I am nothing more than a demon, so I don't understand human feelings anymore. I have a feeling, though, that I know why Mion fell in love with you. Don't say that like it's not related to you. You are Mion. You're not a demon. You're a human with human blood, and you're my friend. Mion made a gesture like she was wiping tears from her eyes, and placed a hand on the big door of the tunnel entrance. Oof. It's getting rough. The lock on it was dauntingly strong looking. It seemed to demand the appropriate resolution from whoever would enter, just like the ritual storehouse. Then the double doors opened. A stifling rotten air and a bunch of winged insects came rushing out. I remembered accidentally killing a hermit crab a long time ago by leaving its tank out on the porch, and how intense the odor it left was. If that was the smell of a corpse, then that's certainly what this smelled like. Inside, it was pitch black, but Mion flicked a switch that turned on the light bulb, illuminating the interior. The path turned into a series of intricate wooden tunnels. We passed spaces that looked like they were for storage. We passed places that looked like someone had lived there. All this indicated that it had been used as a bomb shelter and stockpiled during the war. It didn't give an impression of a dug-out bomb shelter that had been just left there, though. There was a sense of dignity, as though this were a second Sonozaki house constructed underground. Despite being in pitch darkness below the ground, the voices of the cicadas were entering through the air hole somewhere, giving it a very mysterious feel. You saw what was in the ritual storehouse, right? There were piles of torture instruments. All of them were created to uphold the strict religious laws of Onigafuchi village. They were tools used to kill those who broke the laws in terrible ways as a warning to others. That was a long time ago. Watanagashi originally a ritual meant as a deterrent, was once overseen by the three families. But thanks to the Kimiyoshi and Furude families going to decline, and the way the times change, actually carrying out became difficult. I can imagine why. You'd never think people could be okay with drawing people in the swamp and killing them in modern Japan. That's why the Sonozaki family built this. And before we actually get in there, we're going to stop there and leave it for the next episode. So this got into kind of weird. I guess we always knew that, or guessed that Mion liked Punchy too, and it's weird. She's about to show us everything, mingled in with the romantic regrets of Mion. But we learned that she was alive, so that's big. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Please like and subscribe. Bye-bye.